that we had a couple of weeks ago. The rest of it is pretty straightforward stuff that you might see from any other sort of nonprofit in the social service sector. Client stories, message from the president, ways to get in touch with us, the ever-popular remittance envelope, and some stories about volunteers in here, information about, in this case, from the prior year, a lot of numbers from the prior year, client serve, what we do, message from the board chair that's outgoing in this particular edition, being a first newsletter of the new year. So that's a static piece. Obviously, it's not very dynamic, but considering the population that we're working with, a lot of our donors are older, and when I say older, I mean elderly, retired, so maybe not necessarily tech savvy. They're not going to go online and find us. This is a great way for us to reach out to people and appeal to them for either donations of whether it's financial or furniture or otherwise. Just keep in touch with that organization or with that donor base within the organization. So it would be nice, I think you were talking about that earlier, about phasing out print publications and going to straight online communications. And as appealing as it is from a financial standpoint, because it's not cheap to print 4-color folders, there's an element of your segment that you're trying to reach out there that you just can't abandon. For the time being, it's a good strategy, and probably will be for quite some time. I will segue into saying that we are presently working on updating our newsletter. So we'll always have this print piece, but we're also working on an e-newsletter that's a little bit more responsive to the organization. It's got a little bit more content. It's a little less texty, but has more interesting pieces. That has with links embedded within the newsletter, so you don't have to read the whole newsletter if you don't feel like it. You can read the first 2 sentences of the story. You can read the headline. If the teaser grabs your attention, you can click through, go check it out. If you don't care, scroll down. If you don't like any of it, delete it. It doesn't matter. It's a lot easier for us to produce that type of thing than print this and mail it, and it's a lot more efficient. We can get a lot more information out there to people, obviously. It's fairly self-explanatory. Another newsletter piece that we've used fairly regularly over the last year is this piece, which is just kind of a static piece with some stock information, general stories. None of this is timely at all, but they're just stories about clients that we work with, stories about the mission in general. And in this case, this was printed last year. This is not quite a year ago, probably about 7 or 8 months ago. So we had contact information, information about numbers that we did in terms of the 2009 calendar year. So it's a little dated, but at the time we needed something that was going to be going to have a shelf life of more than 2 or 3 months, and so we ended up with a few extras, but we try to work with that type of piece as well. So a lot of this stuff doesn't have a shelf life by design. We want it to be something that we can hand out for a long time. We don't want to say, well, we have these, we want to use them in 3 months, or else we're going to end up eating the cost, because that's not a really good use of our donor dollars. And we obviously, one of the things we pride ourselves on is being a good steward of our financial resources, such that they are for a nonprofit. So in terms of what we're trying to do this year, again, our goals are mainly to increase our market awareness from 18% to 25%. I think that's a fairly modest goal. I think it's easily, maybe deceptively easily attainable. So I'm kind of shooting for something a little more than that. Some of the things that we're planning on doing is reaching out into more individual neighborhoods and targeting specific places for things like a door hanger campaign. So instead of trying to send things out in the mail or trying to reach specific people that donate, we're hoping that people walk by and pick up our flyer in a store. We'll just send people out to canvas and drop off a flyer and hang it on the doorknob or put it on the doorstep. That way it's not something that's embedded with a bunch of other material. and we're not leaving anything to chance. We're taking it right to people and hoping for a response that way. Again, it's cheap material to print, and with volunteer help, we can get the word out there to specific neighborhoods. So that's one of the ideas that's in the pipeline. Also, obviously, I mentioned the development of the e-newsletter. We're working on a template for that right now, and working up kind of firing up the content generator as well, so we can get used to creating more kinds of content. A lot of times what we've been focusing on historically, I think, have been client stories or reporting things that have happened within the organization, instead of maybe looking at the causes that drive clients to our organization, or the reason for our organization, some of those other things that tie into our sector of the social service world and nonprofit world. So that'll be one of the focuses for the e-newsletter. Will be just different kinds of content with different intent and trying to reach different people in different ways. The other item that we're really trying to improve on this year is to increase our online awareness. I know when Dr. Posey taught this class in the fall, our awareness online was pretty minimal, and some folks were having a real hard time finding our website. Couldn't find any information about our organization, and which was kind of surprising to me because I have it as my homepage. So it didn't make any sense to me that he couldn't find it. The gentleman that was telling me, I looked everywhere, I couldn't find it. I searched, I did a Google search, I did this, I did, oh, that's a problem. So one of the things that we are really trying to address this year is increasing our online footprint. So if people search for things like donate furniture, they're going to come up with a link to the furniture bank, and that's going to link you to whether an email link to donate, to schedule a donation, or it's going to take you right to a page with our phone number on it and all of our contact information. So by using our website, using our Facebook page, and using Twitter and our e-newsletter in concert, we're trying to drive a little bit more traffic to our website and increase our awareness in the donating community, really, and in the community at large that way. So we're really hoping for a big response there. And I think so far we've seen some positive impact from that already. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with in terms of ideas for integrating that with some of our print pieces and some of the things that we're doing in the community in general. Last thing that we do is I try to get out in the community as much as I can and tell people about what we do, obviously. That's something that's pretty labor intensive for me, obviously. I'm trying to build up a volunteer base within my organization that can help me do things like that. So whether we're at a trade show excuse me, this weekend, or there's an opportunity somewhere to display literature and tell people about what we're doing, and it's either free to display that information or fairly cheap, I'd like to be there because it's easy to hand stuff out, tell people about what we're doing, and have your logo displayed prominently in an area where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic. A lot of times we have to pass on that opportunity right now just because we don't have the capacity to staff those events to the extent that maybe we would like to, or some other organizations are able to. So if you ever go to an event where nonprofits are displaying information, you're going to see a handful of places at every single event. Whether it's, you're always going to see someone from Red Cross or Habitat for Humanity. We'd like to be there alongside of those organizations as well, just because that's the community that we're trying to reach out to. We feel that we're not necessarily competing with other nonprofits because we have a fairly unique service. We're not really competing with the Red Cross because we're not asking people to give us blood. We're asking for their furniture. So it's we like to work with nonprofits, and we know that people that volunteer for the Red Cross probably aren't going to be really interested in volunteering for the furniture bank, and if they are,